All right, just real quick to kind of give you some guys we should get back this week that didn't get to play Saturday. We should get Chad Townsend. He'll be back this week. LB Moore will be back this week. Jordan Brown will be back this week. Guys that will be a game time decision will be Fry, banged his knee again, and Weston Wright. It was just an ankle sprain. But a 320-pound guy, sprains take a little bit longer, so we'll see. He looked good today, but we won't know anything until really Friday. Just a quick comment about the team and last Saturday, and then, man, I want to get to North Carolina State because, 24 hours has passed, so we should be on, and which we are on to the next game. But, one of the biggest things about us is don't beat yourself. And knock on wood, we're one of the least penalized teams in the country, especially whenever you take away week one, my two penalties of the delay of game. And I just want to ask our fans to make sure, man, I love our traditions. I love everything about what we do at Texas Tech, and I get it. Man, the tortillas fire me up. But we had a situation where Miles Price scored at the end of half, and, we had water bottles thrown on the field. The one that really confuses me is beer bottles thrown on the field, especially when they're half full or some more were full. And that really confuses me because, I like a cold beer every once in a while, and I definitely don't want to throw it away. But I think it's really important to understand that, they're a part of Don't Beat Yourself. I mean, our fans have a huge effect on the game and the passion that we play with. And the worst thing that could happen coming into games to where we still have 5 at home that we get penalized because of something like that. I mean, that's like the worst thing as far as don't beat yourself. So it's really important to uphold all the traditions at Texas Tech. Throwing water bottles and beer bottles on the field are not one of our traditions. And I want to make sure that we take care of each other and do the right thing whenever it comes to that. Okay, on to North Carolina State. Getting to play one of my favorite people in the world. Dave Dorn and I go back a long ways. He actually has a huge fingerprint on Cedar Hill. He was at Kansas in 2003, and he was the first guy to offer one of my guys whenever I was a head coach. He offered Marcus Herford, who played at Kansas, had a really good career, and we've been friends ever since. He flew me out to Wisconsin. I spoke at their clinic. We've kept each other. He's one of the first persons to text me whenever I got this job. I mean, just a class act. He's got a connection here because he's got Ruffin McNeil on his staff, who's just one of the best people in the world. And, Texas Tech Red Raiders know what kind of guy he is. And so really excited. I can't wait to see him. I can't wait to play him, man. This is a team that plays with incredible passion, and they play really fast, and this is going to be a great game for us, again, to see where we're at and to keep growing as a team. Some of the guys that they have, it's a veteran team, have a little bit of history with their quarterback. I didn't personally recruit him, but we did offer him whenever I was at the school in Waco, and, he had a connection with Coach Rule because he's I believe from Jersey, and so they knew each other. I mean, he's a pro. He's going to play in the NFL. I mean, he's a real deal, so it's going to be a test for us. They've got 2 really, really good running backs, 3 and 0. They're physical. They finish runs. I thought the win against East Carolina, 0 came in and really gave them a spark, and so I think it's going to be really important how we tackle. And then they have a veteran offensive line. They bring 4 of their 5 back, and the one that they didn't bring back was the number 1 draft pick. So they're going to be really good offensively. Defensively, extremely aggressive. We have history with their DC. He was at West Virginia for a long time, Coach Gibson. A lot of pressure. They're an odd, stacked team. He's one of really the originators of that kind of defense, so he does a great job with it. I think they returned 10 starters on defense. But the guys that really stand out when you watch film are number 32 and 1, they're linebackers, and then number 10, he's one of the best players in the country. He plays that hybrid safety and that odd stack, and, man, he he's deep when the ball's being thrown, and then when the ball's run, he's around the football. So we've got to do a good job of accounting for him and have a plan for him. It's going to be fun, man. I'm excited. Everything that I hear, I've never been to North Carolina State. I've never played in that environment, but everything I hear from anybody that has, it's an electric environment. It's going to be a great road test. They're a ranked team, and we're really excited to put a good week together and get on a plane and go play some football against a really good football team and us continue to grow as a program. So with all that, I will take questions on last week and this week.
Coach, you just mentioned that you've heard some crazy things about NC State going on the road and their environment. How do you kind of prepare these guys for that big road test that you're talking about, either what's in the locker room but getting their mind straight, like the good mentality heading forward?
Well, I mean, it's a cliche, but it's true. It's a business trip. We have a very good routine. And we stick to it. I mean, we've had a lot of compliments in home games of from the hotel that we stay in, that, hey, man, you guys, I've never seen it. It's like clockwork. I mean, it has a lot to do with our ops staff and how they handle everything. I mean, we want to be loose on Friday. We're going to go to a movie like we do here and kind of relax and enjoy each other. We call it family time, and really we put our phones up. And we spend a lot of time with each other, and then Saturday we'll wake up. We'll be on schedule. We call that Red Raider time. They know not to screw around whenever it's Red Raider time, and we make it clear when that is. And so I think we'll handle it. I think it helps us playing in an environment at home like we do. I mean, our stadium is so loud, and there's that energy in the stadium. So I think it's going to help us going on the road that we play in an environment like that. It's just going to be now offensively it's going to be loud whenever we have the ball versus the other way around, and defensively they're probably going to be able to hear each other a little bit better, because North Carolina State, they have a really strong fan base and they understand football, and so we'll work on that all week. We'll have times in practice that we'll turn up the volume and make sure that we're ready to go, and it's going to be fun, man. It's going to be this is why you play and get excited. You got two teams that are 2-0. One of them are ranked, and, you got a chance to play some really good football.
Looking back at the game against Houston, how was the chemistry between Donovan and the offensive line, in your opinion? And I guess heading into NC State, what are a couple keys to success that those two need to really gel on?
I think it's gonna help being game two with those guys. We definitely can play better. And, we had a staff meeting this morning to challenge each other that, a lot of times things, when you win, you can look past because you're winning. And that's not just staff. We want to fix, no matter if we're winning or losing, we're going to make sure the issues, whatever shows up on film, that we're attacking, and giving up the sacks we've talked about. I think at the end of the day, the film's going to be really good because the guys, some of it was getting beat early and having to settle in. Some of it was being a lot of a brand new offensive line. And then, Kitley would be the first person to tell you, and he probably will. I mean, some of it is play calling, making sure we're ahead of the sticks to where we don't have to get in third down to where they know that we're throwing the football and they can pin their ears back and really come after us. So got a mixture of things that we could keep getting better at, and learned a lot from that game.
Go to Justin on the right side.
Coach, can you talk about how the strength staff has prepared your guys and just the job they've done this year?
Well, between the strength staff and Hannah, I think they're the best in the country. I know this. Yesterday when we met as a team and went through why we won the game, one of the slides that we had was we didn't cramp. And there was some cramping maybe going on Saturday, but it wasn't from the Red Raiders. And so I think that shows a lot about the strength staff and our dietitian getting guys ready to play. I also think, I just saw Eric Gray, and, I told him, good job, just by body weight. We talk about body weight all the time. Y'all know what I think about, big people. And so I think it shows a lot of just, how they're doing that. And then, really, if you think about our university and our athletic department have done such a good job. The cash is absolutely incredible. The way we feed our kids, the way we take care of them, the way Drew's crew in the training room take care of them. It shows a lot about, what our strength staff and the rest of our support staff has done for our players.
Donovan Smith was just named the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Week. Can you just speak about his job that he did last week and the kind of man he is?
Man, I thought he did a great job. I said it, and I want to say it again. In this day and age, for a young man, and he's I guess he's a sophomore or sophomore, to not be named the starting quarterback. In this day and age, you're either in the portal or your lip stuck out that you trip over it every day, and he wasn't that guy. He was a guy that, he prepared the week before to play in the game, and then he had the opportunity, he played well, and then he prepared to be the starter. I think he would be the first one to tell you that he's got to prepare even more, especially this week, because we're going to see a lot of pressure. They're known for their pressure, and so I'm proud of him, and I'm happy for him. And it said it on the edit. I just saw it on Twitter. It said, "What's next?" That's not a question. So he's got to enjoy that, and maybe that's for less than 24 hours, and then he's got to get ready. And he was in there. He's probably still down there, but he and Nehemiah Martinez and Jordan Brown, I think there was more and more guy down there. They were down there watching film, and that's what those guys do. They're leaders and get prepared to play the game.
And we saw Krishan kind of trip up in the end zone there in the overtime, I believe. Was there anything wrong there? And I'm assuming he'll be ready to roll.
Right now, we feel good. It's going to be a deal that one thing about him, he's really tough. It's kind of a hyperextension. He's walking around, feels great today. Just saw him walk in the building earlier. Saw him this morning. When I saw him this morning getting treatment, I asked him. He said, "I feel good, Coach." So we'll go. The good thing with him, if he's a vet, so if he doesn't practice, I'm expecting him to practice. But if he has a day where he doesn't, he's played so much football that I don't think it's going to hurt him. But really tough kid, and Drew and his guys feel good about it, and so feel good that he's going to play on Saturday.
Coach, a lot of the chatter around NC State this year is that this might be one of the better teams that they've had in quite a while. Is there anything that stands out to you about what makes them maybe different from teams in years past? And now knowing your relationship with Coach Doran, is there anything you guys have talked about that maybe he's mentioned that's kind of stood out to him in this year's team?
Well, they have the all-access deal on ESPN, so I've watched a lot of them and have heard them talk. And, they kind of have a chip on their shoulder. If you go back to last year, what happened to them in the bowl game was ridiculous. That should not happen. And that was bad on the other team's part that even got to that. And so they had an opportunity to, I believe, have a 10-win season, and that means a lot. It's going to mean a lot around here. And so I know they have a chip on their shoulder, and not only they have a chip on their shoulder, but they have a lot of people back that have chips on their shoulder. And so it's a vet group. He's got a lot of leadership. He's got a lot of NFL guys. And there's a lot of guys on that team that are going to be playing on Sundays. And then I just think he does a good job. He's been there. He's established his culture. He's got a good coaching staff, and they're excited. They have one of the longest home winning streaks, I believe, in the country. I could be wrong about that. I know they haven't lost a lot of games at home, and so they're going to be ready to go. And I think with us being 2-0, it probably adds to the excitement of the game. And I know that we both respect each other and respect how our teams are going to play. So it's going to be a dogfight.
Different, brands or flavors of between Big 12 and ACC football, play style, whatever it may be?
I would say really the ACC is a lot more similar to the Big 12 than, especially like the Big 10. You know, there's teams that are very similar. When you're talking about Clemson, you're talking about Wake Forest, North Carolina State. There are a lot of similarities between the two conferences, and you know, you have some wide open offenses, and you have a lot of athletes, and you know, so it's going to be good. I mean, these guys are really good. I mean, we're from here on out, you know, from last week and here on out, we're going to be playing really, really good football teams, you know, and anybody can beat anybody. I mean, you saw, it did not surprise me. If anybody was surprised, you don't know anything about Lance Leopold at Kansas, but it did not surprise me that he went into West Virginia and won that game. And that just shows you where the Big 12 is. It's such a good conference, and it's a competitive conference, and every given week, anybody can beat anybody.
Hey, follow-up for you, Joey. Merriweather, you said a hyperextension. That's on a knee, I assume?
Yes, sir.
And I was going to ask you, you said being a veteran, he doesn't necessarily need to practice a lot to play.
Right.
I was going to ask you the same thing about Weston Wright. How much does he need to practice to play?
Not a lot. The thing with Weston that's a little bit different, it's the same ankle that he rolled during camp. And so his will be, and he's probably 100 pounds heavier than Krishan. So his will be a little bit different. He will be a guy that will be more to where we get to Fast Friday. If he feels like he can go, then he'll go. Krishan, you know, I expect him back either Wednesday or Thursday. You know, we'll see. I know they moved him around a little bit today. And then tomorrow he'll really get going with Drew and kind of see where he's at.
What's your main impression of Devin Leary?
Big arm. You know, he can make all the throws. He's a guy that can extend the play and has played a lot of snaps, you know. I mean, he's a guy that has played a lot of snaps. And I remember before when we were recruiting him, I mean, we thought the dude was going to be legit, and he definitely is. So we've got to continue. I was proud of our secondary from the standpoint of having a lot better eyes and eye discipline, and I think we got to do it again.
A couple of weeks ago, Malik Dunlap sounded pretty fired up about playing his old team. Have you talked to him about that?
Oh, we talk all the time for a lot of stuff. You know, he's going back home. I'm excited for him. He's going to get to see a lot of his family, and you know, I know he's excited. I was glad that he played the way he played Saturday, so he could carry some confidence in the game, and you know, it's going to be a lot of fun for him.
Bottles thing that you were talking about at the top.
Yeah.
Is that something you noticed as it was happening, or is that something y'all saw later on?
So we got a warning at halftime that it happened again. We were going to get a 15-yard penalty, which we've already had. That's already happened. It happened last year. I could be totally wrong which one it was. I think it was Iowa State that we got a 15-yard penalty. And then watching from our view, I can't see the stands, of course, but whenever you see when Miles scores, you see bottles, you know, water bottles and everything else, and the officials, that was right before halftime. So at halftime they came, you know, and the back judge said, man, I nearly got hit. And, you know, they were pretty upset. And, you know, I did ask them, did they take a drink if it wasn't open? But, you know, he didn't think that was very funny at the time because he was pretty pissed that he nearly got hit. I get it. I just, man, I know how, I remember the Texas game when we played in basketball. And I remember one of our basketball players, our former basketball players, saying it before I got up there. You know, I mean, we're building something, and you know, at the end of the game, winning and being able to come on the field like our fans did, which is the first time I've ever been a part of that, is absolutely incredible. I would not want to take away from that, but I just don't understand what you get out of that. And it's not a tradition. Like, it's anybody and everybody understands the tortilla deal, but the other stuff past that, it doesn't make any sense to me, you know, and I don't know why any Red Raider would want to put us in that situation.
You mentioned a moment ago Tony Gibson. He had a lot of success when he was at West Virginia against Mahomes.
Right.
What is it about that defense that just looks like key components that give people trouble?
Well, they're going to close the middle of the field, and so they're going to take a lot of the middle of the field away from you, and they're going to close it every play, and then they're going to pressure you. And the thing that they do such a great job is they're going to show you one thing, and they're going to disguise it, and they're going to bring pressure from everywhere. And he's one of the godfathers of that defense, and he does a good job. And I think I really do think with Zach having experience, playing that we'll have a good plan. And then, I think our guys, it's a little bit different because it's more pressure oriented, but they saw it every day last year as far as the structure of the odd stack. And so, I think that's going to give them some comfort. But, we're going to have to play well. We're going to have to – our running backs, our tight ends are going to have to do a good job of knowing where the pressure's coming from. And then the offensive line's going to have to do a good job. It's going to help. We're going to have to be able to run the football some, whether it's the quarterback or the running backs, to kind of take some of that pressure off.
You mentioned Dave Doran. There's a lot of other guys on this NC State staff with connections to this area, Texas and Big 12. Any of those other guys you know very well?
No, he's the main one, and I know Ruffin. And I know Coach Perry knows a couple of guys. I know he's the special teams coordinator. I know he knows him. But really good group of guys, strong staff. He's been able to keep them together. And, when you get that continuity and you recruit the way they have, you build the team that they've built right now.
First two games of the season, what's something that yourself and the coaching staff notice about the team that maybe those of us outside of the program probably wouldn't easily see?
Care factor. I mean, I think that I think you probably can see it because our guys are playing hard, but man, these guys really care about each other. Like Sharodrick, perfect example of Sharodrick. There was no frustration Saturday. Taj was hot, and I know, he wants to be in there and do well, but there was a point that he said, hey, roll with Taj right here, not to me, but with Coach Perry. And it's just a high care factor of guys that want to win, that care about each other, and pick each other up. I thought the way they played off of each other. I mean, we talk about complementary football. Well, one thing that I haven't talked to y'all or other people about, but complementary football is when you get a stop on defense, you go score on offense. When you give up a touchdown or a field goal on defense and you go score on offense, you play off of each other. And, man, they're talking about it, and you can hear it, and they're really zoned in. So I think that's the thing that we've really noticed. Man, we got some guys that they want to win, and they're really buying in of, hey, this is how we're going to win football games.
Coach, you said at the beginning of the year you wanted to play with Red Raider speed and violence. Have you seen the speed and violence that you want to from this team yet? And what are the things that you feel that there have been players that have led, to show more than you might have anticipated?
We're getting there. You're never going to use this as an excuse, so this sounds like an excuse, so I don't even know why I'm saying it, but I've already opened my mouth, so I'm going to go ahead and say it. When you invest reps into certain things, so we're a first-year program, so we have X amount of reps invested, and the more you have invested, the faster you can play. I've asked the coaches to make sure they're doing a good job of not overcomplicating the game plan in the stage that we're in so we can play fast. I think we're getting there. I mean, Tyree, I'll tell you this, Tyree Wilson has really surprised me, not how hard he plays, but how hard he chases the football. The touchdown by Nehemiah Martinez is Red Raider speed and violence. I mean, the dude's a pinball. And there's a couple plays like that from him. So I thought that's good. I think, Krishan getting banged up there in the end zone, if you watch that full play, I mean, he's coming from the opposite side of the formation and played the play all the way through. And he had multiple plays like that. The fumble that he caused was off of effort. I mean, just bottom line effort. We gave up. We had bad leverage on that play, and just him running that football down, creating that fumble, because that was a big play for them, and then it turned around to be a big play for us. So we're getting there. We just got to make sure that we're putting in the time and making sure our guys are understanding. I mean, we talk about it all the time. It's on my hat on Tuesday. We talk about we install effort every single day, but it's on my hat on Tuesday, and then on Wednesdays, alignment and assignment. And I believe that if you can get the play call and you get lined up, you know your assignment, there's no reason you can't play really fast and play at Red Raider speed. And that's what we're trying to get to.
We'll wrap with David and then Jeff.
Coach, I know you talked about Coach Dorn a couple times now, but what do you remember from that first interaction, and why do you think you guys have become such close friends? Well,
one, he's a defensive coach. I love defensive guys. I love our offensive guys. Those are the only offensive guys I like. He just has a really welcoming personality. He's very calm. He's very he has always been good to me, whether it's good or bad in my career, of hitting me up and checking on me. And I think he's coaches with a good heart. He's in it for the players, and so I like guys like that. And he does a great job. I was one of the first. It's funny, whenever he got his first head coaching job, I was probably one of the first ones to hit him up, because I was really fired up for him to get it, because he deserved it. He worked really hard, and to get that job, and he's done a really good job with it.
Coaches do all the prep and the players follow your lead, but can you get anything from Malik, even if it's just logistic stuff there, that he can help other players with going into Raleigh this weekend?
I definitely think that he's going to be able to talk about the environment. I think he's going to be able to give some stuff to our defense as far as the offense, but he's 2 years removed. There's a lot of guys that have really grown up, and they are a little different. But I think the biggest thing that he'll be able to help with is, hey, look, this is fixed to be a really hostile environment, and we're going to have to really focus, because it's going to be a loud environment. And so I think he can definitely help with that.
How important were those reps that he was able to get this past weekend, just to get him ready for this weekend as well?
It's huge, because he played well, and he and Shad, for whatever reason, the week before had some, eye violations that put us in bad situations. And I thought both of them played really well, graded out well. And so I think you can build on that, because when you play well and this is what you're focusing on, it's easier to, as a coach, to be able to say, look, I told you, keep doing this, and you're going to keep playing well. The other guy that I thought, Muddy's kind of the constant. This is just how he is, man. He's a pro. He'll play on Sunday. But the other guy that's really starting to come on is Reggie Pearson. And one reason he's starting to come on is because he's practicing so hard. And he and I talk about that a lot. I think the harder you practice, you can practice yourself, and play yourself into a good football player.
Coach, special teams didn't have their best game on Saturday, whether it be field goal kicking or in the return game. I realize it's two different sides that you're talking about there, but what are some of the things you guys are going to do to address some of those mistakes and errors that happen in that side?
Well, I think when it happens special teams wise, you go back and make sure that personnel wise you're in the best spot, and so you go back to that. We had on the one that they ended up getting a penalty. We had too much color stacking each other. We had too many guys that ended up stacking their own color, and you never can let that happen on any of the return game. I mean, you got to spread the net, and so we got to fix that. And then, for whatever reason, y'all know what I feel about our specialists, but they struggled, and I don't know why they struggled. Because you turn around, that punt was a line drive. We had 2 of those. That's putting your cover team in a bad situation. And we turned around and boomed another one, and so I know Austin will go through, and, I've asked the whole team and the coaches, everybody, make sure you're looking in the mirror and checking, like, how could you get better, and then Wolf mishit the field goal that he missed, and then one of the big plays that kind of hidden yardage that goes unsaid was the one coming out of half, he's kicking the ball out of the end zone, and then he kicks the ball, I don't know. I think it was outside the 5. It was inside the 10. I mean, you don't want those balls with the leg that he has to be returnable. So it's not all the return team. It's not all the scheme. It's a mixture of both. And whenever you have a day like we had, it usually is. And so I'm glad that we came. Of course, you want to fix things off a win. You can be a lot more critical off a win. I think you can put a lot more pressure on each other off a win. And so I think there's definitely going to be some applied pressure whenever it comes to special teams this week, making sure we're doing our job.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
Coach, can you assess the play of your defensive line? It seemed like they were really getting after it, and I guess just what kind of played to that and helped you all kind of keep Clayton Tune in check there?
Well, I was pleased with how our defensive line played. We let Tune out a couple times. We got to do a better job, and our plan was to try to keep him in the pocket, and we got to do a better job in conversion on play action pass. But overall, I thought the physicality was there up front. We've got some guys that can knock the line back and reset the line of scrimmage, which obviously helps. And I thought we did, for the most part, a pretty good job against the run game. A couple times we didn't fit the edges as well as we should have. But overall, been pleased 2 weeks in that I mentioned last week, I think we've got, 2 deep in our D line that can really play.
Can you speak to the back end of the defense and what their improvements were, especially Malik Dunlap?
Yeah, big improvement. From a week ago, I think as our guys understand our package, understand the different leverages we want to play with, when we want to press, when we want to bail, when we want to be off, they'll just continue to play, faster. We did let one get thrown behind us, really not an excuse for that. We're going to keep drilling it so that we're, more on, spot on in those situations. But I liked the way we improved from the week before. We knew they had some good receivers, and it was going to be a different challenge than it was the first week, and I thought for the most part our guys stepped up to it.
Coach, talk about Tyree and his impact with y'all's defense. What's been the most impressive thing to you about his game so far this year?
Well, he's really physical, on the edge. He's a guy that can play multiple positions for us. We can move him around a little bit so that they can't key into double teaming him all the time. But I think, like other guys I've had in the past on defenses, he's going to draw the attention of an opposing coach, and they're going to need to account for him. There's very few tackles I think that can handle him one-on-one. He's really strong on a speed to power, can really crush the pocket. He's athletic enough to turn and chase things down from behind. You saw that in some of the run game plays. Really pleased with where he's at.
We'll go next to Justin and Mason Fall.
Coach, how do you game plan for Devin Leary?
We're going through that right now. He's really difficult. He's an athletic quarterback, a live arm. They do a nice job with personnel grouping, spreading you out, bringing tight formations. It's kind of in vogue now with a lot of teams. He's a guy that extends the play, just kind of what we just saw, because he's athletic and can run. So you got to have plans for all those kind of things. And the fact that he's played a lot of ball, I think veteran quarterbacks who are talented like he is are probably the most difficult, task for defensive staffs to have to plan against. You get a young guy, you can kind of confuse him. He's seen a lot of things. So we're just going to have to really play well fundamentally and hopefully, keep him in check.
Coach, obviously you're not going to be coaching against NC State's defense, but you being a defensive guy, what stands out to you about what makes them so consistent and good this year?
Well, and I really haven't looked at them this year. I just know Coach Gibson from his past and watched a few of their games last year. He runs a unique system. They're in a 3-3 stack. They're either going to be dropping 8 or rushing 8. It's a kind of a little bit of a high risk, high reward at times. But he does a fantastic job with it, and they get a ton of negative yardage plays, a lot of pressure on quarterbacks. And I think the best thing he does is probably change the tempo and the time clock on a quarterback's, mind. Again, I haven't seen them what they've done this year. I'm a lot more worried about Devin Leary right now than their defense.
And what about one of the guys that Leary's going to be thrown to, Thayer Thomas, probably his primary target out there?
Yeah, he's their leading receiver coming back from a year ago and took up right, this year where he left off last year. He's a guy they move around, good route runner. He's not a huge guy, but he's put together pretty well. He can run with the ball after the catch. They're unique, and he's a primary receiver, and then their tailback number 3 is their second leading receiver. So you got to be, like last week, we got to be able to count for not just receivers but backs out of the backfield.
Coach, as a defensive coordinator, how proud are you of your guys after getting inside the 25 on a possession change and hold the opponent to 6 points?
Well, I'm proud of them, but that's something we preach to them all the time. Anytime we go on the field, our job is to either get the ball back in a takeaway or make them kick. And, a lot of times, I think a lot of defenses, when they have a short field, the natural human tendency is to, oh man, someone screwed us. We gave up a long punt return, or our offense turned the ball over, and it's not like that with us. We've got our guys thinking that, hey, we got an opportunity to seize the momentum back, and when you can make people kick or take the ball away, that deflates the offensive momentum, and that's what our guys thrive on. We talk about it all the time. Hey, we're the firemen. There's a fire right now. We're putting the fire out, and we're taking that momentum back. Well, they're very, very balanced attack, so you're absolutely right. If you don't stop the run, they're just going to bloody your nose all day long like they did last week. So everything's going to start there. They do a nice job, as I mentioned. Coach Beck's been doing this a long time, and he knows what he's doing as far as getting them into formations with different motions and shifts to try to out-leverage you. And they've got, the full complement of run game. They're going to run the inside zone, but they've really majored a lot of outside zone and a ton more counter so far. So they're going to get in some formations to hopefully get you into certain fronts where they can get the look they want. We just got to do a good job of playing fundamental football and understanding what they're trying to do, and then playing with extreme physicality.
And then finally, can you just talk about the defensive response on getting those couple turnovers last week, finally getting the turnover chain getting started?
Yeah, no, I was happy about those. The first one, Krishan's, we talk about all the time the 4 P's of takeaways. And one of those P's is preparedness, where we know what the offense is doing and what we do so we can play fast, and then physicality and purpose. And he didn't just go make a tackle to make a tackle. His purpose was to get the ball out. And you can see that purpose as he's tackling, going after the football, and then the population of getting guys to the football. And we've got to do a better job than that. Rabbit obviously was running the ball. He was there, to get the fumble recovery. But we've got to get 11 guys doing that, and we're not quite there yet. And we talked about that yesterday in our, team meeting, that, that was not acceptable for some of these guys, and it was an uncomfortable meeting for some of them. But our guys know what our standards are here, and for us to be a championship level defense, we got to get everybody chasing the ball like that. The second takeaway, was a great job by Rabbit, in the post reading the safety, but really was caused by the pressure that we put on Tune. He threw it before he wanted to, and to me, that's why those things are called takeaways in our mind. We are forcing the offense into a situation as opposed to, hey, we're going to wait for them to throw it to us on turnover. We need to force the issue.
I was actually going to follow up on the same subject, because you had, by my count, 3 interception opportunities in that game that you missed. Those couple of balls that were right on Malik and Rayshad.
Right.
That hit him right in the chest, basically.
And then there at the end on the tip ball.
In the overtime, exactly. Yeah. So that bothered you up.
And again, some of those are going to happen. The last one, when the ball's tipped, T.O., I think he saw it late. And those are difficult at times. But, the ones on Malik and Rayshad, they're talented guys. That's very well within their, ability to make those plays. And I think as we keep putting them in those positions, we just got to, insist that they make those plays because they're capable of it.
I was asking, or Joey was talking about how well he knows Dave Doran and us. There's a lot of guys on that staff with connections to Big 12 and whatnot. Have you gone against Tim Beck or know many of those other guys on staff?
I'm trying to think if Coach Beck was at Nebraska when I was at another school. He may have been with Coach Pelini back then. And I know Coach Gibson just through the years, excellent defensive coach.
Anything else for Coach Bruder? All right.
Coach, I kind of want to rewind to that last touchdown run from Donovan. What was your reaction to that? Because when Donovan came into the press conference, he was like, I was just trusting my reads, and I saw an opening, and I kind of just went for it. What was your reaction on that?
Yeah, he did a great job, kind of that was an empty set we had there, and his progression was kind of starting the boundary, then move to the field, and he did exactly what he was coached to do, started to the boundary. You can watch his eyes on tape, move to the field, and there it was. There's just kind of an open hole. And as everybody knows, that's one of Donovan's strengths, is finding that and running. And he ran it and walked in the end zone. And then I ran around for about 5 minutes, it seemed like, just running up and down screaming. So it was fun. That was my reaction to that one. So
Now heading into NC State, what have you guys been working on specifically with him in order to get ready for a huge road test?
Yeah, I'm in the middle of game plan right now. Got quite a bit done right now. He had a great game overall. There's a lot of things that we both have to get better at, him and I. Part of it's me as his coach and his play caller, getting him into better situations and coaching him the right way at times. And we're just trying to get back to the basics this week and make sure that we're doing everything we can to protect him first and foremost, and second off, just getting through those progressions the right way.
We'll go next to Justin, followed by Mason.
Coach, there were a few times on Saturday where Donovan appeared to check into a QB draw or a QB run on like a 3rd and long-ish. What was your reaction to that? And you've said in the past that they have the freedom to do so. What was your reaction to that?
Yeah, that was part of the game plan. Again, they're a heavy wide rush team. When you go back and you look at teams against them, a lot of people have hit them on quarterback draw, and that was something that we had kind of going into the game. They did a really good job of twisting and stunting the lines, and we struggled at times picking up some of those twisters. So, I think it came up big for us. I know looking back on it, at least one time we got to rush one for a first down and keep the drive alive. We had a couple that weren't. Some of those you're looking at 3rd and 20 at times where we just struggled on 1st and 2nd down, getting into really, really long 3rd downs. And so sometimes you're just looking to get a chunk back. And that's kind of one of those plays where you want to get a chunk back. So, again, that was in the game plan, and it didn't work out for us the way we wanted to, but that's kind of how it goes sometimes in football.
And with the strong D-line that you're going to face this week, does the Houston D-line give you some experience and something to build on for this next week and the next couple weeks? Yeah,
absolutely. Again, all credit to Houston. Again, they led the country in sacks last year, and we knew they were going to be a great test for us. Schematically, this week's going to be a lot different than what we faced this last week. They were a 4-down wide defensive end team last week, and this week you're looking at a 3-down more interior type of deal. So your tackles won't be on islands as much. But at the end of the day, it was a great experience for us. And, we got a lot of work to do in the pass protection. And that starts with me and myself and Coach Hamby getting that coached up and kind of moving forward. But schematically this week, again, what they're showing defensively is going to be a little bit different. So, but it was, again, later down the road, we're going to face another team like that, and being able to see that early will help us in the long run.
Coach, when you get into overtime situations like that, what changes, if anything, for your offensive and play calling philosophy when you get those new rules?
Nothing really. You have your red zone plan in, and you kind of stick to what you know. You try not to do anything out of the ordinary. We came out and first overtime, we go backwards. Not good. And then you get to 4th and long, it just is what it is. But you're in 4-down territory at that point anyways. That was the plan. Called an old play that we've repped a million times on 4th and long, 3rd and long scenarios, and there you go. And then you got to the second overtime. Again, every play we called during that was what was in our red zone script for that week. Every one of those plays. We had the quarterback run, we went run, and then we went screen, and then we went check down to Roderick, and then we went touchdown, and all 4 of those plays were in the red zone script for that week, and we executed them well there towards the end.
Of course, Donovan being named Big 12 Player of the Week this week offensively. How impressed are you that a guy who's your QB2 is able to go out there and put up a career day like that?
Yeah, again, I think him and I both are looking forward to progress this week. But my most impressive thing with Donovan was his leadership on the sideline the entire game. We had a lot of ups and a lot of downs in that game, and he was very consistent as a leader. And, every time he felt like he made a mistake, he came up to me and he's like, Coach, I got it. We're good. We're moving on. We use the what's next mentality around here a lot, and he was phenomenal at that. So, again, I thought he had a really good day, and, again, looking forward to improvement as the season goes on here.
How NC State is a really big defensive team. What stands out to you about them in particular that makes them click so well on that side of the ball?
Yeah, a veteran defense, a lot of chemistry there. These guys have played together for a long time. They got 7 starters on defense that are seniors or graduate students that have been playing for a long time. Top 25 defense in total defense and scoring defense as well. And then the other guys too, they're not playing a lot of freshmen out there. So they've got a lot of 21-plus-year-olds on their defense that have played a lot of football and seen a lot of stuff. And I've a history with Coach Gibson, their defensive coordinator. He was at West Virginia for 5 years. Whenever I was here the first time, those guys always play hard, and it seems like they got a chip on their shoulder. And you're going to see those safeties flying downhill in the run game, and they're physical. They do a great job. Again, it's going to be a huge test for us this week, facing probably one of the better defenses we'll see all season.
Nehemiah, what has impressed you about him from the beginning of camp to obviously getting that first touchdown for him?
Yeah, he's just a team guy. He wants to do whatever it takes to help the team. He was really coming on as a slot receiver, and then, Taj kind of had gotten banged up in fall camp. Well, that immediately made him hey, man, we're moving you to running back for now to help the team out and get those reps, which you're probably going to see him throughout the season at that position some. And, man, he's a whatever it takes kind of guy. And at the end of the day, Miles had a little back spasm happen there early on in the beginning of the game, and he's fine clearly now, but he came in and was ready to roll, and clearly he had a huge impact on our performance this last week. So very proud of Nehemiah, and again, he just continues to get better and better and better every week.
Coach, what do you attribute some of the struggles that your offensive line seemed to have this past weekend with giving up the sacks and not really getting a lot of penetration in the run game?
Yeah, I think we just got to be better at hitting our targets and pad level in the run game, especially when you're talking about the run game. And then, I got to do a better job protecting those guys on those wide edges at times with some chipping and some of those things. And we tried to get to those. And that's an area where the tight ends and running backs, we got to continue to rep that and get better in those scenarios. But ultimately, I think the biggest thing run game-wise, again, goes back to our pad level. Thought we had poor pad level at times coming off the ball. And then in the pass pro, again, just a lot of that comes back to me and trying to schematically help those guys and get them in a better chance to be successful.
And a play that you can use to your benefit when you're having some struggles with the offensive line is the wide receiver screen. Mm-hmm. Some of those didn't have the success that you were looking for either. What do you attribute that to?
Yeah, we didn't get to as many of them as we'd like to. They started just playing more press down man, and when you're playing press down man, kind of those perimeter screens kind of go away because they're pre-snap covered down. And they were giving us some of the run boxes that we wanted, and we're trying to hand the ball off. And again, we got to get better in that regard. But they were just taking away the perimeter screens this week, and so that wasn't something that they were giving us. So we're not just going to throw it out there.
We'll go next to David, followed by Donovan.
Yeah, Zach, Donovan kind of mentioned it in the postgame, talking to Jaron after that drop. How big was that for him mentally moving forward to be able to come up with that catch on 4th and 20 and keep the game going?
Yeah, huge. Again, JB, people don't realize he's got 4 years to play college football still. And you talk about overall looking at the whole game. You look at our team, you have Jaron Bradley's 4 years to play. You got Monroe Mills starting right tackle, 4 years to play. Jacoby Jackson came in, 4 years left to play. You look across the board, you have 0 seniors on that team out there. And every one of them guys was as resilient as you could be, and JB was one of those guys. Clearly, I'm sure he'd like to have that ball back, as we all would like to, and make that catch. But again, around here, we say, what's next? And you got to move on. You got to be prepared for the next play. And he came up really huge for us. And again, that comes back to coaching and Coach Jones and the culture we have here of understanding the situation too, and understanding, hey man, it's 4th and 20. And he didn't just step out of bounds or whatever. He did, but he made sure he got past the chains first. So that even speaks highly of his football IQ too.
You were asked about your first play last week, so I don't want to neglect the first play this time around. Not nearly as exciting, but can you go into your thought process of the QB run to start the thing off? Was it just you figured they'd be blitzing and you wanted to catch them off guard?
Yeah, no, just something, again, that we saw on film-wise that we thought we could hit them with. I like to try to start the game. Again, depending on what they're showing schematically, you want to try to start the game with at least about a 5-yard gain or so. When you motion to empty out there, you assume they're going to empty the box to 5. We've got 5, they've got 5. You got a quarterback that can really run. So that was just kind of the thought process behind that one.
Zach, if you're doing like a video breakdown of that 4th and 20 play, how would you kind of describe it for people who are watching it?
Yeah, the play call, it's funny. We actually had ran it at the end of the 4th quarter, the exact same play at the end of the 4th quarter, and that's one where Donovan took off and scrambled for 25, 30, whatever it would have been on that away sideline. It's kind of an old school air raid play that I've known about since my time here in 2013, and I've joked about it with a lot of people. We've called that play 3 times this year, and it's worked every time for us. And in my previous 9 years of coaching, 10 years of coaching, I haven't hit it one time. But, you know, just again, trying to take the safeties out of there, and you have the mesh coming underneath with a deep crosser. You know, Donnie gets flushed out of the pocket and does a great job getting what we call scramble drill, and just keeping his eyes downfield. And here comes JB on the crosser on the mesh, and you know, it's actually Taj Brooks does a great job of grabbing those safeties and getting them out of there towards our sideline on that hash mark out there, and he takes those guys out of there, which is what his job was supposed to be. And so that led a lot of grass in front of JB when he caught that ball to get vertical and get us that first down.
Also, you mentioned when you were here before. When you were here before, Tony Gibson gave Patrick probably as much trouble as any defensive coordinator did. What was it about his scheme that gave y'all problems back then, and do the coverages still look similar to what you're seeing now?
There are some similarities. It's not identical. Again, Coach Gibson does a great job. You know, he's one of the top minds in defense, if you ask me. You know, his structure is to beat the air raid teams, if you will. You know, they're going to take away zone runs, and they're going to force you to try to run sideways, and that's where those safeties can come in big and play, and you're going to see them, you know, screaming downfield a lot. So schematically there, and you know, they just do a really good job. His number one goal is to confuse the quarterback. And so when you go into a game plan, your quarterback has to understand that, you know, that they're going to be moving safeties around all over the field trying to get you to think, hey, he's rotating weak, and then he's going to end up flipping it, and they're going to end up rotating strong, cover three. It's mainly a one high shell defense, so they add a hat to the run game, and it's kind of their deal is to, again, take away the zone runs, but force you to throw it to beat them. And, you know, he's going to put his corners on an island a lot, and he counts on those guys to win for him. And so that's kind of that similar. You know, he used to do kind of more just cover 0 or drop 8 back in the day at West Virginia, and so it was kind of crazy defense. You know, planning for that during the week because they were either bringing 6 guys, it seemed like every snap, maybe 7, or dropping 8 into coverage. And so that's where, you know, again, as a play caller and as a quarterback, especially if it is a pass play and they do end up dropping 8, you got to just be very patient because the windows are very narrow, and you can't just try to force anything in there. That ball's going to go the other way.
Coach, after the game, I saw you share a special moment with your dad, him talking and stuff. Just talk about the support that your dad has with you, and also like with him being and also another head coach at Texas Tech. Just kind of talk about that bond you guys have.
Yeah, I mean, the support's, you know, unbelievable, you know, having him here and my family here, and we've been here since 1999, and you know, nobody is a bigger Texas Tech football fan than my dad is, and it's not because I'm here. Even when I wasn't here and before I started coaching, he's a big fan of Texas Tech athletics, and he loves football. So that was cool. You know, I was actually trying to find Coach Brandon Jones, the offensive line coach at Houston, who I worked with here for a year, to you know, talk to him after the game, and couldn't find him. And there's my dad runs up to me and just grabs him by the neck and gives me a big hug. So that was a cool moment for sure. Being able to just enjoy that with him, you know, big win for our football team, and you know, clearly a lot of adversity that we fought through to get that done. So it was a fun moment.
Coach, I'm just curious, the timeout before the 4th and 20, did that help your guys?
Yeah, I mean, you know, again, this was the second time we had ran that play. But I think any time when you can get those guys and try to give them a voice of reason and a voice of confidence there, like, hey, guys, we got it right here, I think that always helps, you know. And again, our guys weren't out of the game by any means. You know, again, I think if you talk to any of our coaches, our guys were ready to play every single snap. And again, we've repped that play a lot, and it's been very successful for us. And so our guys had belief. You know, Donovan again was in that huddle saying, "Hey guys, we got to make sure we get past the chains here." And so I think it does help just to be able to get those guys in and talk about the play while they're around you, and just be able to hit the key reminders on certain things like, "Hey Taj, you got to make sure you grab these safeties and get them out here." You know, even though he already knew that, but just being able to hit those key things again, I think is important.